Now, speaking of the conflict in the Middle East, international leaders from France, Germany, Jordan, and Egypt convened in Cairo on Monday to discuss new ways to revive the peace talks between the Palestinians and the Israelis, especially ahead of the coming Biden administration, which they say should have a central role in future talks. Additionally, Arab states that have recently signed normalization agreements with Israel were given special reference in that meeting that the so-called Munich Group says will hopefully lead to the rebuilding of trust between both parties.
Wir wollen auch diejenigen in der Region einbinden, die nach der Normalisierung eine neue Rolle einnehmen können. Und auch deren Bedeutung kann in diesem Prozess größer werden. Und dabei sind wir uns einig, wir wollen weiter dazu beitragen, dass es dauerhaften Frieden und Stabilität in der Region geben kann.
That said, the outcome of the talks is so far nothing new. The group putting out a statement after the meeting emphasizing their commitment to a negotiated two-state solution, but based on the pre-1967 border lines. And they also urge Israel to maintain the legal status quo in the holy sites in Jerusalem and to cease all settlement activities, including in East Jerusalem, which the Palestinians say they want for a future state capital. Notably missing from the discussion, however, was any condemnation of Palestinian support for terrorism, as well as representatives from the Palestinian Authority or from Israel. And here now to discuss is Professor Efraim Inbar, president of the Jerusalem Institute for Strategy and Security. Professor, thank you so much for being with us. Now, Egypt and Germany say that the goal of their meeting was to encourage Palestinians and Israelis to negotiate politically and to build trust. Where do Israel and the Palestinians currently sit in terms of their relationship?
They don't sit together. The Palestinians have refused to talk to the Trump administration about their efforts to bring peace to the Middle East. And they have rejected the Trump plan, despite the fact that the Trump plan mentioned a future Palestinian state. So it's up to the Palestinians to bring their house in order. We should also be aware that the Palestinians are ill-equipped at this time to be a serious partner for negotiations because they are very divided. Gaza is ruled by Hamas, while the West Bank is ruled by the Palestinian Authority. And there is also an ongoing succession struggle which paralyzes the Palestinian political system.
All right, well, now you just mentioned that, of course, the Palestinian Authority has completely rejected out of hand really any plan that came from the Trump administration. Do we see a Biden plan, whatever that may be, especially because it's expected that that would be somewhat of a return to plans put forth by the Obama administration? Do we see that as potentially any more successful?
Actually, the meeting in Cairo was, its purpose was to bring about a pressure on the Biden administration to go back to previous plans. But I don't think this is going to be very successful because the Biden administration has definitely other priorities. It has to deal with the corona crisis, with the economic situation, and above all, in foreign affairs, it has the Iran issue on its plate. So it's doubtful that the Biden administration will be able to have the energy and the time to give priority to the Palestinian issue in the near future.
So what does trust really between the Palestinians and the Israelis look like? Have we seen a good example of that in the last decade or two?
I remember the Oslo days, the happy Oslo days, when people were saying that we have to foster trust between Rabin and Arafat. And I used to reply that Rabin doesn't even trust his own defense minister. So why should he trust Arafat? This whole notion of trust is a liberal notion that has nothing to do with the real life in international relations. It's all about interests. Trust has nothing to do with it because politicians by nature don't trust their interlocutors and they try to get the best deal possible.
All right, Efraim, thank you so much for being with us, Professor Efraim.
You're welcome.